Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Over the weekend, the 27th to the 30th of September, the St. Lucia Fire Service responded to 92 ambulance calls, 6 of which were related to vehicular accidents, in many of which a single passenger was harmed. However, on Saturday, a minibus ran off the road and 8 people were injured. Divisional Officer for the St. Lucia Fire Service, David Antoine, says upon response to the incident, personnel from the Dennery Fire Station treated people for various back and neck injuries.
On Saturday, September 28th, at approximately 11:28 a.m., fire officers from the Dennery Fire Station responded to a motor vehicular incident at Tomazo, where a minibus seemed to have lost control and veered off the roadway into a ditch. On arrival at the scene, emergency personnel assessed and treated 8 passengers for injuries to the back and neck. They were subsequently transported to the Dennery Polyclinic for further medical intervention.
Antoine says that currently the cause of the accident has not been determined. However, the matter is under investigation, and as such, it falls under the jurisdiction of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Member of the Cannabis Commission, Andre De Carey, says following the second meeting of the committee, the decision was taken to create subgroups to focus on prominent aspects of the cannabis industry and the impact on society. De Carey is still displeased with the speed of the movement and what he describes as political impediments. Solange Alfred tells us more.
Slow strides for the cannabis movement, says Chairman Andre De Carey, as he expresses the progress made with the recently formed Cannabis Committee. De Carey says subgroups have been created within the committee to focus on specific aspects of the decriminalization and legalization process.
At our second meeting, we realized just meeting with no action plan makes no sense. So the action plan is to form 4 subcommittees. One for legislation, one for health, a health committee to investigate the positives and negatives of cannabis, standards committee, which is already there because the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards has an ad hoc committee looking at standards in the cannabis industry. And then we have an economics committee. And the idea is to compile reports at the end of it and submit a document to the government, which would be an action plan as to step 1, 2, 3 from decriminalization to full legalization.
The recommendation by the Cannabis Committee for full legalization is only step 1, says De Carey. The desired outcome, he says, will then rest in the hands of the policymakers.
It's actually up to the politicians to implement. And as a result, we have no control over that. There are politicians like Ms. Flood and Mr. Guy Joseph who are totally opposed to it and who will delay the process as much as possible. But we must consider a country like Barbados, which is super conservative, that had absolutely no advocacy. We had 6 for 20 marches. We've been on TV for years. None of that went on in Barbados. Yet investors who were here went to Barbados and within 2 months sealed the deal because the politicians wanted it to happen. It also happened in Antigua with Gaston Brown, with Mr. Timothy Harris, in St. Kitts Nevis, Mr. Ralph Gonzalez in St. Vincent, and they haven't legalized ganja. They just made the medical cannabis legal, and as a result, investors could come in and start their projects.
Meanwhile, De Carey called attention to another Caribbean island, Antigua and Barbuda. With the recent announcement, boxing legend Mike Tyson looks to set up shop on the island. Reports indicate the celebrity looks to invest into a full-scale hotel resort based off his business model, combining cannabis usage and tourism. De Carey says the news was a blow to the movement in St. Lucia.
Again, everybody is moving ahead of us, and we have so many people knocking at the door wanting to get involved, and our politicians just blocking the whole thing. So obviously it's tremendously upsetting to see that. But we think we've been doing this for a while. It's 20 years of advocacy and research, and that's why the investors are still here. St. Lucia could be the epicenter of the cannabis world in 2 years' time if we really want to push it. And we could make a hell of a lot of money and spread it out to the people and the communities who really deserve it, you know, and just level the playing field a little bit. It will deal with a lot of our negative social issues that we have right now.
The Kerry says the first step St. Lucia can take towards acceptance of the plant is to decriminalize cannabis and allow for medical use. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
The St. Lucia National Trust says collaborative efforts with key stakeholders in the cultural arena will see the trust once again participating in Journée Creole activities. Director of the St. Lucia National Trust, Vishnu Tulsi, says the thrust for continued promotion of St. Lucia's intangible heritage is 100% backed by the St. Lucia National Trust.
Last year we had a booth in Viewfort and they've invited us to come on board again, so we will be doing that. We participate in the event like anyone else, but it is part of our intangible heritage, and that is the mandate of the CDF. Of course, we collaborate at many levels, but they are doing an excellent job and we're happy to support them.
Tulsi says with village tourism being looked at by the government of St. Lucia, a unique experience can be packaged and promoted to interested travelers.
People want to be immersed in the culture of St. Lucia. They want to be immersed in St. Lucia. I was doing some research the other day to look at how we promote tourism. It's all environmental. It's always a landscape, it's always the pitons, it's always the sea. And we've got to build on that. We have two unique products that we need to work on. One is an enhancement of our environment to make our landscapes and our seascape more appealing than they actually are. To that end, the Trust has prepared what we call a system of protected areas. We hope that government will see it wise to adopt that systems plan so that it become national policy and that these great landscapes that we have will be protected. So that is one of the things we need to do. The other is our intangible heritage, and that's where we were talking about the Cultural Development Foundation and the Folk Research Center, to make an experience of our intangible heritage so that people can enjoy it.
He notes that the experience is what drives tourism, and crafting genuine St. Lucian experiences for visitors will play a major role in both cultural and tourism development. The plan to build a new St. Lucia and how it is taking shape was the main discussion as St. Lucians living in New York and surrounding areas got a chance to meet with Prime Minister Alan Chasney on Sunday at a town hall meeting held at the Marriott Hotel Conference Room. In a frank discussion with scores of St. Lucians who showed up for the meeting, Prime Minister Chasney spoke about government's plans to empower people to take advantage of the opportunities being created. The Prime Minister reiterated the power of the diaspora and assured St. Lucians living all over the world that they have a part to play in supporting the development of the country. The Prime Minister spoke about various sectors that have shown growth and development, including agriculture, tourism, and education. The questions from the audience were on diverse topics, including the status of agricultural lands, the cultivating of cannabis, the state of healthcare, village tourism, and education opportunities. The Prime Minister was joined at the conference by Minister with responsibility for external affairs, Sarah Flood Bobra, Ambassador to the Diaspora, His Excellency, that should be Her Excellency, Joycelyn Fletcher, Ambassador to the United Nations, His Excellency, Cosmos Richardson, and Ambassador to CARICOM, Her Excellency, Elma Jean Isaac. Following the presentation and Q&A segments, attendees got an opportunity to meet one-on-one with the Prime Minister and his wife, as well as other government officials. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Tennyson Glasgow is up next with all the sporting action.